Our co-host today is a TED speaker, 5 times award-winning author of 4 books, and the host of The Brave Table. I am a fan of hers, so it is super cool that she's sitting right next to me. Neeta Bhushan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here with all of you.
Now let's talk about emotional resilience. We're going to get right into it, and obviously also the title of your book, When Something Sucks So Much and You Have to Get Up and Continue On. What advice do you have? How do you tackle that?
Oh, yes, I feel like the main title of the book is to give people an affirmation, something to anchor and to really say, okay, well, that sucked. Now what? Mm-hmm. Now what are we going to do about it?
I mean, how are you not going to pick up that book, right?
Well, exactly. And also, I mean, how to embrace the joy and chaos and find magic in the mess. And I think so often in our human experience, our human condition, we are going to have these messy moments, these things that aren't going to go our way. And then how do we rise up with that? So the book has tons of tools and really talking about how we can actually embrace some of the really big and hard feelings that we all go through in life.
Tell us.
We were talking about a little bit earlier about therapy, and Neeta was discussing life coaching. What do you think the biggest obstacle for people is when they want to seek some kind of help, whether it's therapy, life coaching, or just even talking to a friend?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is people second guess themselves, and I think they have to be ready. Because people can show up, like even in my life, I've had so many different obstacles from losing 3 members of my family before I was 19 years old to going through a divorce, reinventing myself many times. I was a cosmetic dentist, had so many of these pivotal moments. And, there were always these teachers and people around, but it wasn't until I was ready to say, oh, okay, I need this for myself. And so sometimes people show up in the form of somebody sitting next to you that you could actually, or watching the show right now that you're like, oh, I actually need to work on those things. And if it's coaching, if it's therapy, if it's, anchors like books and podcasts, I think those are kind of the first initial steps that you can say, all right, I'm gonna actually take ownership and agency of my life so that I can actually be a better human and tackle some of the demons that we all have.
The Brave Table podcast, you can find it wherever you can find your podcast.
Dr. Neeta, you said about like working on yourself and you being your biggest obstacle because you're second guess. The biggest, I think for me personally as an older child, the biggest thing for me is saying no because I feel like it's selfish more so than prioritizing myself. So how do I set boundaries for a better self-care and better self-worth in a sense?
Well, I think a lot of times we're taught, especially either culturally or especially as women, especially as eldest daughters, that we're supposed to please everybody else. But in that, we are definitely depleting ourselves more and more and more because we're saying, okay, your needs matter so much more than my needs. And if we can actually just say no to the things that aren't in alignment with us. It might not be no forever, or there are so many tactical ways that I actually talk about in my books to say, all right, this is a no for right now, and we actually teach this to our children. A lot of moms are watching this too, and this is a boundary we have to learn for our families, but it first starts within ourselves to just say a simple, well, no, I'm not going to be able to join you for this today, but actually maybe next week, or my week is so full right now, I'm gonna actually prioritize staying in and not going to that dinner or not going to that thing, because then we overwork ourselves, and then at the end of the day we're just getting resentful and we are so tired, we're so burnt out that if we just actually included small tiny little boundaries to support our nervous system, we'll be thriving.
Oh, boundaries, though. I feel like that's everyone's issue, isn't it? And setting boundaries with family, a whole episode on its own. Yes. But you were talking about reinventing yourself and also making mistakes, and I feel like a lot of us make the same mistake. We still haven't learned that lesson. What do you find that when you end up talking to people, what's the biggest issue that's constantly reoccurring? What's the advice that you find yourself always giving?
Well, I think it's the belief in yourself, right? The thing that, oh, we're not enough, and that we're constantly having to do, to prove, to overdo, to overcompensate, just to either feel like we belong, either in a circle. And of course, this is World Mental Health Day we're talking about. A lot of times we're experiencing issues like anxiety, overwhelm, stress. I feel like, many times, and I talked about this in my TED Talk, how to find purpose in life's hardest moments. We don't take a moment to just pause and say, oh, okay, how am I actually feeling about that thing right now? We're so quick to just, gloss over the surface or do the next thing. And so I think if we just actually take a pause and allow ourselves to actually breathe, sometimes it'll actually help us not only emotionally regulate, but we'll actually be a little bit more confident even in the way that we present ourselves, but also in tackling, okay, what's actually feeling in tune with me right now, and what am I actually not feeling because I'm bypassing or I have to get to the next thing.
I'm exhaling just listening to you. What about some practical tips? Maytha, I feel like you were right on that.
Yeah, I want to know, like, how do you combat anxiety and stress and that mental block? Like, what can we do to take that pause? Because it's very hard in our daily schedule to just do nothing. We're always very jittery and we feel like we need to do something. So is there any tips and tricks or things that we can do?
Yes, so I'm all about nervous system 1-minute resets. And I mean, this probably goes back to my psychology days, but I take my right hand, and I know this might sound cheesy, but it works, and it works if you're a mom with kids, in the car, traffic, after school pickup, drop off, but why can't we actually do it for ourselves? So you guys can do this as well. So put your hand over your heart and basically just honor and acknowledge what you're actually feeling right now, and maybe take a breath in.
You felt me there being like,
and release. And everyone watching at home can do this. So let's do that again. Take a deep breath in. And release. And so the reason why I share this was probably 10 seconds. If we do this 3 times, what we're actually doing is we're activating our parasympathetic nervous system, and even our right hand or our left hand, or you can use both hands. But what we're actually doing is we're giving ourselves oxytocin. And if you can't give yourself a hug or your kids a hug or anybody a hug, and when we give somebody a hug, it actually takes 30 seconds to activate the hormone oxytocin that makes us feel connected. So if you can't do that, can you actually do a simple reset of just putting your hand over your heart and saying, I got this. I know this is hard, but I can reframe it and we can keep going with our day, right? To acknowledge it and to keep going.
oh,
I mean, that was very effective. I think I heard some of the cameramen also doing the breathing technique.
noticed
So it's obviously working. And Dr. Neeta is going to be with us for the rest of the show. But for right now, we're going to be finding out why anxiety is on the rise. Not just here, but all over the world. But before we get to that, let's meet tonight's performer, violinist Naima Archer.
Hi, my name is Naima Archer, and I'm a professional violinist. I will be performing today Don't Be Shy by a Latin artist, and you can catch me at the end of the show.